You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Down at the First National Center today, just had an amazing tour from Amanda. Huge shout out to her. It was, I learned a lot. I know a lot now, a lot that I didn't before. So thanks for Amanda for giving me a tour. But in front of me, I have Mr. Gary Brooks. Man behind the building, but I guess man in front of the building. And there are a lot of people behind you that you've corralled together to make this, 7-year journey into reality?
Yeah, 6.5 years. September of 2015 was when had the idea and thought we could put together a team, and
here we are.
Went to the mayor and Jim Couch, the city manager at the time, and said, I got a crazy idea. The building was in receivership. I knew the receiver, and he told me he could get me a federal judge's title and basically wipe everybody out and clean it up. So that's how it started. So
we're going to get to all that, but I want to build your kind of the context first and tell us a little bit about kind of you and your background and your Oklahoma story. For people listening, kind of take us through, I guess, kind of how you get, where you grow up, and then what gets you into architecture, building, that stuff, and then we'll obviously get to this.
It's not very interesting, so I'll move quick. Raised in Ponca City, Oklahoma, graduated Ponca City High School in 1980, came to Oklahoma Christian in Edmond in 1980. Was going to be an accountant, wasn't any good at it, didn't enjoy it, went ahead and got my degree in it, and started selling cars for Bob Moore, downtown Oklahoma City in 1985.
Yeah.
Got into commercial real estate in 1987, 88. Wasn't a great time to try to be peddling real estate.
Yeah.
Shortly after the crash, I didn't know any better. Mm-hmm. Met Mark Beffert, who was already a pretty up-and-coming guy at that time. He and I are the same age, hit it off, became best friends, and we started Beffert Brooks early 90s, I guess, mid-90s, and just grew it from there. And one day, saw a demographic birth chart from 1900 and thought, probably going to need a lot of apartments here pretty quick. So I got into apartment development. Mark and partner Roy Oliver were starting to buy some office buildings. And so I kind of went the apartment way and started doing apartment development in 2005, 6. No money. Cut my teeth doing apartment development, suburban type stuff, easy, and got into some pretty more complicated apartment wraps downtown. Had some good success with that, built a little bit of a credibility, and walked in this building September of 2015 and had an idea.
Said, I want it. I want to take it on. It's
It wasn't that confident.
Well, yeah,
trust me.
But the kind of the thing, like the time periods that you just mentioned, there's obviously a lot of uncertainty going on in those time periods with Oklahoma City, real estate, financial markets, all that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of opportunity there as well, right? And it kind of, you mentioned Mark as well. You both of you have had a huge impact on this city. People probably don't really know that.
Yeah, I would say the city's had a lot more impact on us than we've had on the city. But look, I don't know any other market. I haven't played in any other markets. Oklahoma City has done so well that it makes all of us look smarter than we are. I mean, I warn younger guys in the business, I go, look, you're going to think you're really smart, and you're not near as smart as you think you are. You can answer a phone and chase deals.
Right.
I'm undervaluing developers just a little, but this market has been, I think, for many years, it was consistent. And if you're a developer and you're in a market that's consistent, I don't care if it's at 3 or 4% growth. Consistency is great.
Yeah.
And about 6-7 years ago, I'm like a lot of other people. I'm like, hey, this place is about to blow up. I mean, maps changed the game. The Thunder changed the game. I mean, that changed the city. And so I just simply saw a tide that's rising. I didn't contribute to it, and I just said, I'm not sure it's going to stop.
Right.
And every year it just keeps getting better and better. I mean, I'm a pretty good cheerleader for Oklahoma City. I mean, I'm not so sure if this city doesn't become one of the top 2 or 3 cities looked at for growth and opportunity in the country in the next 5 years.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the stats definitely speak to that, because I mean, you got so much development still continuing and coming in, and I think people are starting to realize it. The locals probably don't want people to realize it because they want to keep the city for themselves. But
some of them, sometimes that
businesses
happens.
Is good. Right?
I get it. I mean, you fall into comfort zones, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
But you also want to be a place where people want to come and grow and can flourish, and their families can succeed, and you got a cost of living that's at least reasonable. I mean, we've got a lot of things that need to be solved here, but I wouldn't live anywhere else.
Yeah. Growing up, then, when you went to Oklahoma Christian, did you kind of have plans because of kind of what the kind of market at the time in Oklahoma City at that time? Do you think I want to go somewhere else? Because a lot of people do that, right? A lot of people go somewhere else and then they come back, right? They realize what they've missed and they come back, or they have a family here. Did you go anywhere else before going into the car business?
I had no plan, Mike.
Yeah?
I was just surviving. My funny story on that, Beffert and I were actually, we were young. We're both at a meeting, and it's some pretty, it was a pretty significant meeting. I can't remember why we were there, and one of the people made a comment, said, all of our smart young people, once they get out of college, they leave. And Beffert looked at me like, we obviously don't qualify as smart young guys because we stayed. So I never considered moving anywhere else. It's just never. I didn't have that much of a plan. So
right. So what?
And I met my wife 39 years ago, so I wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I share that with you too, because I mean, I wouldn't be going anywhere else after I met my wife too. It's I don't know. When you find someone, right? And you think this is it.
I'm not sure I'd fit anywhere else.
Yeah.
This is Oklahoma City. This is where I'm comfortable. I have no desire.
Yeah. So fast forward then, 2015. You guys walk in here. What's the conversation that gets you in the building to start? You said you knew people.
Yeah, after I was in the building and had the crazy idea, I went and met with some significant city leaders that I at least knew had a relationship with, and said, look, I've got an idea. And they're all like, that's crazy. We'll support you if you think you can, but nobody's been able to pull it off. I mean, it's just been considered an impossible task. I believe that there was a window. Of course, it's easy to say 7 years later, looking back.
Right.
Somebody can say, he knew all along. I didn't know anything, but the building needed to be saved. It probably needed to be a local person just to understand the significance. I was not the most qualified person in town. There were plenty of people that had done these kind of things. I hadn't. But I was kind of the only one that was crazy enough to think, hey, this might be a good time. The city, you had the right leadership in place, both at City Hall. You had great leadership in the business community. And, I just became a rallying voice, I think, just to get enough people involved.
Yeah.
Of course, this First National doesn't happen without a conversation with Charlie Nicholas, my partner down in Louisville, Texas. I mean, this building would have crushed me 10 times over. But Charlie bought into my vision and said, "Hey, I'm in. I'm for you," and has stayed with me the whole time. I mean, he's the reason it happened. All the other people that really got behind it and caught the vision.
To that point, there's a really good lesson there that when you it's having a lot of self-belief, right? When you talk about your vision and you don't just come in here and say, this is it. This is my idea. you got to come in here with some confidence, right? With some, I'm going to take this on, and this is the city needs this, and I'm going to do this for the city and for the people of the city. And it's, can you talk a little bit about kind of that, I guess, that process of, when you're a developer, you've developed these buildings, right? And they might be apartments, and they might look like some other stuff or as everybody else, but when you do something like this is as an artist would say, it's a statement piece, right? And I get the kind of side of you. I don't think you see it as a statement piece, because just the short time we've sat together, I don't get the sense that you really you don't want to tell, you're not like, look at me, look at what I've done, right? I don't get that sense from you. But I want to kind of dive into like that kind of self-confidence and belief and my vision, kind of, where does that come from?
I've never been asked that question. That's good. You're obviously a professional. Well, sometimes taking on something like this just means that somebody's got to be the cheerleader. Mm-hmm. I mean, all I really did was say yes, and I just kept pushing. And I just kept saying yes, and people kept saying, you're crazy. And I go, yeah, maybe, but this needs to be done. And what I think I did well, besides just putting together a great team, was I just kept pushing. I felt like, and I can articulate it now, I couldn't have 6 years ago. I would have had no clue how to articulate this. Mm-hmm. But what I think I knew instinctively was, if you get enough people in Oklahoma City thinking this could happen, they'll literally carry you. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happened. I mean, once enough people were like, okay, he's serious. And early on it was like, yeah, he's serious, but he's going to fail, which was a logical thought. Sure. A friend called me one day and he said, hey, everybody in the town's thinking you're going to fail. I go, well, yeah, I would too. Right. I'm not offended by it at all. But once people are like, okay, he's serious, and then you get, an engine like Charlie Nicholas, who's well known in this region and even around the country, you get him behind it, and all of a sudden people are like, all right, that's a serious ownership group that's able to step in with a lot of power and force and history, and now all of a sudden they're like, and then I bring in any construction who, they brought powerhouses in, and people kept going, all right, maybe this, little guy from Oklahoma City is going to actually put together a group that can pull this off. Right. Then 106 lenders turned us down, and COVID hit, and there were some challenges. Let's just say it was a challenge. But I really think my main job was just to keep telling people, we're going to do this, no matter what they said.
Yeah, and like I said, one domino falls, and then the other falls, and then it takes a while for the next one to fall, but you keep pushing, and before you know it, you are fully committed, you're in on this, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. This could have taken you 10 years, it didn't matter. It was going to happen.
Yeah, I think so. Now, that's easy for me to say now.
Yeah.
But, looking back at the challenges, I mean, if Prime Bank and Cross First hadn't have jumped on early, you would never got off the ground. Yeah. If Tinker Federal Credit Union hadn't have agreed to step up and see the vision, they caught it, and when nobody else did, you wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
And, HUD comes in, and the city steps up with significant funds. Our tax credit people, you got state historic tax credits. You just got a lot of people had to say yes, but that didn't happen in 12 months.
Yeah. The other thing that kind of just fascinates me is, and like you said, there's so many people said no, but the story, you could replicate this story in any business, right? It's just kind of like that entrepreneur's story of like, I have a vision, I want to do this, I'm going to get enough people together to do it, and we're just going to keep going until we can do this. And there are examples where people have just said, no, you're out of your mind, this is never going to work, and some people spend their life trying to make things work, and sadly they don't. But they have something that makes them tick. They have something, is that reason that they get out of bed in the morning. And that reason for the last 6-7 years, and before that was this, for you. But there's things that happen every day, right? They're like, okay, we've had a kick in the nuts here, or we've had a breakthrough. and COVID obviously was one of those kicks, and 106 lenders saying no was multiple kicks. But we're sat in the old conference room today, which is one of the suites now. And like I said, had a great tour from Amanda, and you walk into that building and you see, the amazing artwork and the stuff that's been restored. And I cannot wait to go down to that bar downstairs and kind of have a few cocktails, because that place is going to be popping. But there's. You could write books and movies about this, right? About the last 6 years, of all the things that have happened. We could sit down for 10 hours telling stories, but
easily, yeah.
Well, for me, kind of the stuff I'm interested in is like the stuff that people probably will kind of, sadly, I think people might look past, is the history of this building. And downstairs on the walkway down through the Broadway, you have some great murals and pictures of history. What was your kind of first experience or first memory of this building historically? Did you know anything about it before? I mean, other than the fact that it used to be a bank?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't have a whole lot of thoughts about the building. I was an office broker in the 80s and 90s, and you're looking for office space that people actually want.
Right.
And it wasn't First National. It wasn't under ownership for a long time that really supported a lot of tenant improvements. The building it really didn't fit a lot of tenants looking for quality office space. So I was much more interested in Leadership Square, the cool buildings, which is now pretty ironic and somewhat embarrassing to say. I just didn't have a whole lot of appeal. It did not. If you'd have told me 20 years ago, I would have had the idea and put the team together, I'd have laughed at you. I mean, that's just, who would want to do that?
Yeah.
So I wasn't a history person. I didn't really care about it, and it's a miracle. I mean, I won't take you down a tangent, but God gave me a vision, and I said yes, and He performed hundreds of miracles along the way, and here we are.
Yeah. What leads to you getting that vision? Do you travel a lot? Do you take things from all over different cities, all over countries?
I travel very little.
Did you before this?
Yeah. Is it a beach or a lake? I didn't. I think maybe what makes the story somewhat interesting is I'm not the prototype to do something like this, and people are like, it's one of the reasons, rightfully so, people are like, he can't do this. I mean, it just wasn't my style.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I ever thought about, ever dreamed about, never had the idea.
Yeah. There's some cool things around that you guys have kept, and Amanda told me a story about the original elevator that was found, right? And the letters that have been found, and and can you touch on some of the stuff that you found through discovery, and also things that kind of people brought to you as well, who used to work here, and just kind of like the cool stuff that people might not really know about unless they ask a question.
You can take on a project like this. We did a lot of case studies around the country, so we got to see a lot of similar type projects. And a few of them, you just walk away going, wow, they crushed it. The Palace in San Francisco, I mean, it's fantastic. And a lot of them you walk away and go, man, they could have done so much better. And it's economics, I get it, I realize. I felt like you've got one shot at First National. You don't have 10 of these in Oklahoma City. You got one. And the city and my partners trusted me to at least put something out there that we would all be proud of. And I wanted people to walk in and go, okay, I didn't expect it. I knew it's fantastic. I mean, it was fantastic before we started.
Right.
The building was great before we ever touched it.
Yeah.
It was in incredible disrepair, but it still was a fantastic building. You got one shot, and you either reach as high as you can and reach for excellence and crush it, or forever you're going to look back and go, yeah, it's nice, but we could have done better. And again, had I not had a partner, with Charlie and the ownership team, and Any Construction and the other ADG and Flickmart, the people behind us, you know, yeah, the bar in the Great Hall was my idea, but my vision wasn't that. You know, people go, yeah, the bar's fantastic. Fantastic. I go, yeah, wasn't what I would have built. You know, my vision wasn't anywhere close to that. But you put a vision out, you hire smart people and great people to build it, and you got an ownership group willing to support it, and all of a sudden you look up and you go, that's unbelievable. I mean, I've walked it hundreds of times and I still go, that's really incredible.
Yeah.
It's just a testament to just people saying, okay, this is a crazy idea. Let's do it really well. Because you want to do it so well, I wanted to respect the building as much as possible. Not being a history person, I ended up studying a lot about the Johnson brothers and the Vos family and the early days of the bank, and became really fascinated with it. And at one point, it sounds a little odd, but I walked from the bank to Frank Johnson's old house at 15th and Walker, because he used to walk to and from the work every day, just to try to get a sense of what was in his mind. I mean, because I'm sure everybody was 1930 going, you guys are crazy. Yeah. But it really, I really wanted to respect the building. They did such an incredible job.
Yeah.
You couldn't have done this today, and I really wanted to respect that. The elevator, we looked for a year for pictures of the original cab, couldn't find anything. And I just knew that if you could find the original cab and were willing to commit to it, that would be cool.
Yeah.
It's just one of those features that nobody would think about till you did it.
Yeah.
And then they get in the cab and go, that's cool. Yeah. We found an original cab in the basement that was welded shut. 15 years, broke into it, and there it was, sitting right there with the chair for the operator still in it. And I said, we got to replicate it.
Yeah.
It took 2 years, and a company were able to laser the whole thing and replicate those elevators. And again, an ownership group and a design team and a contractor that's like, okay, that's a crazy idea. We'll do it.
Yeah, and that, I mean, there's many more, right? You have kind of the squirrels on the bank vault, the owls, and all the other animals that are in the artwork on the ceilings. You have the murals, the 4 murals that are downstairs. I mean, like you said, you just want to preserve it, or just bring it back to life. This building has a character, and the last thing you want to do is whitewash the walls and be like, yeah, we'll just take the outside. Everything inside is going to be brand new, right?
When you first get into it, it was a job. We have a job to do. At some point, it becomes a responsibility.
Yeah.
And you realize we have to do this well. You can't be in this building and for disrespect her by not preserving the murals. I mean, you have no choice. You have to do this.
Yeah.
You're never going to do it again. If you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? I'm not going to bring somebody in here 3 years after hotels open and set up scaffolding. That's not an option. So I think it's just a commitment to the initial vision. And
are you a superstitious person?
Not at all.
Not at all. Part of me is like, old buildings have character, and whether we believe in buildings giving you karma back or not, but some of the things that came to mind then was like, if you don't do it right, this building's going to bite you in the ass somewhere.
No, I don't have that.
Yeah. One thing that's cool is the barber shop downstairs, and kind of like that development that's going to happen. You've got the boot company coming in. You got the restaurant that's going to be open, and I ran past that restaurant running the marathon. I was like, that's new. What is that? And now I understand. I just get to see the entrance side of it from First National, and it's exciting going to see that when it's open and everything's bustling down there. But that barbershop's got some unique quirks to it too, right?
Yeah, the barbershop was on the 14th floor. I never went there to get my hair cut, but a lot of people did. It was very well known. A lot of Oklahoma City powerful people went there regularly. It had some old timers started telling me some history of of what happened in that barbershop and who actually went there. And, you know, it's Dean McGee and Mr. Gaylord and just on. And it was just one of those things. It's like, look, you got one shot.
Yeah.
Don't neglect the history of the building and the history of the city and people that are significant that helped build it. All I did was had an idea. Hey, let's recreate it. Put it on the first floor, reopen it, redo the original barber chairs, and it ended up being an idea that people kind of took and thought, hey, that's fun.
Right.
And, I don't know how that plays out, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, when you dive into hearing those stories and finding out who was in those chairs and maybe the deals that were done and the friendships that were made, and then now we get to know, you know, what those gentlemen did. But at the time, it was an idea, and sat in a barber chair getting my hair cut or my shoes shined.
It's part of the history, and you can either ignore it or you embrace it. And someone walks in here and says, I sat in that chair by Mr. Gaylord and talked about Tinker Air Force Base coming. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. But you don't want to miss those opportunities to respect the history.
Were you into history growing up, or was it just after that?
I knew nothing about history.
No,
Hated history.
This has really kind of sparked your
my
love
wife
for Oklahoma
thought
City.
it was hilarious.
Yeah.
She's like, you know nothing about history. Well, I know.
Yeah.
That's what makes the whole thing a little
That's what
ironic.
make it hilarious. Yeah. But you know a lot about this building now, which is all you need to know.
I got obsessed with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my best friend told me, he said early on, he said, just don't get emotional about it.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, emotion may be the only thing that
How
carries
can
you
you
through.
not, right? Yeah.
I mean, that may be all you have some days.
Yeah.
It's just, you wake up and you have no clue how we're going to do this, but you have no choice but to keep moving.
Yeah. Did Mark think you were nuts?
Yeah, I don't want to get him in trouble. But, well, look, most everybody thought that.
Yeah.
And that was the right response.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I banker number probably 65, you know, he's like, you know, no. And it finally hit me about, you know, somewhere in that, I looked at him, I go, it's not that you don't think the building can't be done. You just don't think I can do it. And that was like this revelation of like, oh my gosh. So he kind of like smiled. I go, I get it. I mean, but you just persevere.
Right. Yeah, there's so many stories of that, and I love it because, you know, like you said, like I said earlier, if you just said 20 years ago, you know, you'd be doing this, you're like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. You're talking about the wrong guy.
Yeah, it all had to come together.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, you know, the city, you know, these lenders, Charlie, the construction team. I mean, there were people that spent 5 years of their life in this building.
Right.
Away from their families, all week long. You know, would go home to Dallas on the weekend, maybe, and come back and work in this building with a hard hat for 4 years with no heat and air.
Yeah.
It was brutal. The hundreds of people, absolutely brutal. I can't even begin to describe the challenge. It's embarrassing for me. You know, I'm the one people want to talk to, but I'm like, you know, I could line you up 500 people that worked harder than I did. I mean, they killed themselves.
Yeah.
And I think even the workers get in here and it gets you. The building captures you. It does something to you where it's just not a job anymore.
Right. I asked, Amanda gave me a story, and I asked her kind of her story and kind of how she got involved, and she's like, well, I came here to open the Omni, and then I walked in here and fell in love. And I was like, explain. She's like, well, when you come up those elevator stairs, like, and she said she set a goal to be, she wants to be a part of the 100-year party, which is in 31, right?
Yeah.
She said, that's my goal. So
she better be here a lot longer than 1931. I will not let her leave. She was one of our first staff hires, and I went after her pretty hard. We needed expertise.
As the locations go, you're right in the middle of Oklahoma City, right?
Living downtown in Oklahoma City is so much fun. I can't even begin to tell you. It's absolutely incredible. and only going to get better.
Yeah.
You got the Marriott Gardens being redone. It's going to be opening soon. That tube, and it's a wonderful experience that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. What does your family think of kind of just how this experience has gone the last 6-7 years?
Oh,
Your wife must be a saint.
yeah, my wife's amazing. Well, my wife's Mark Beffert's CFO, so she's in the business.
Okay, yeah.
She leaves him and comes home to me, so she understands it.
Yeah.
She knew. The only story I'll tell on her, I don't have permission to do anything, but about halfway through due diligence, we were sitting in the backyard, and I told her, I said, "Look, we gotta make a call. I mean, we could still walk away. I can pay Charlie back his part of the money, and he won't kill me.
Yeah.
And we could walk away. You need to make that call. If you're worried, now's the time, because once we go, we go." And she thought about it, and she said, let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, without her, I wouldn't have. Yeah, I mean,
You got that support. Batman and Robin, you've got that support. The last thing that you want going into something like this is not to have the support of your significant other, because that doubts you, and the last thing you need when you take on any project is doubt. So that was a special moment.
The danger is, though, this building doesn't define me. It doesn't define her. It doesn't define us. It's something we did. I think it's a significant thing for the city.
Sure.
But projects can't define you.
Right. Yeah. Well, how long was that due diligence period?
Charlie and I signed the contract January 11th of 2016. We closed January 11th of 2017. 365 days.
Wow.
Of due diligence.
That's a long.
Well, you had to hire engineers.
Sure.
You had to touch every stone on the outside of the building. You had to make sure the building was going to work for what you wanted it to do. You didn't want to buy it if you find problems. You discover problems that, hey, now it won't work.
Yeah.
Now you're in trouble. So you take your time, you spend the money, you hire the right people, and you get in here and you make sure that it's going to work.
Yeah.
The irony is it took us longer to buy it than it did to build it. They built the building in 11 and a half months, start to finish.
Yeah, that's ironic.
No, it's unbelievable.
It is,
I still don't know how they did it.
No, especially back then.
It had to be 2,000 people. I don't have a clue.
God, you'd love to hear those stories from the people who were behind
We have
GCs
pictures
on the day and stuff.
I haven't ever found anyone that have to be 110.
Yeah. God, there's so many. That's the beauty. I mean, we wish the beauty of technology. You just want people to be interviewed during the job or after, just to hear their thoughts, right? Because we still have those, but hopefully we have written letters and other forms of kind of figuring that out. One of the other things I want to touch on is, the bank vault obviously is a huge statement piece of the building. The door is multiple doors are massive, and the fact that you guys have kind of turned that into a really cool area that's going to be open a few months, whenever that'll be. But just walking through, you get this with the low ceiling. It's got kind of an aura to it, right? You can't walk in there and think, "Yeah, I don't want to spend time in here." You walk in there and you think, "It's time for a drink. I want to have a good time."
Or food.
Or food.
Good Mexican menu down there.
Yeah, it's just kind of.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I've ever had an original idea, so you steal as many good ideas as you can. And I saw a few in their due diligence. The vault was really cut up down there, but when you see that big round D-bolt, that we have a document that tells us it's 26,000 pounds, that one vault. I can't prove it, but it's massive. Where are you ever going to be able to sit in a cool place and have a meal and a drink and spend time with friends in front of that?
Right.
It's so rare. I found one, and obviously they're around, but I found one in Cleveland, and it's wintertime. I told my wife, "Hey, we got to Cleveland." She goes, "Why?" I go, "I got to go see a vault." She said, "We're going to Cleveland in the winter to see a vault." I go, "Yeah, I have to go touch this vault." And so you go look for these places. Even in my wildest dreams, I did not see that.
Right.
Obviously, had the idea, put it out there, cast the vision, give it to the team. Fortunately, I wasn't smart enough to think through the complexities of putting 2 vaults and 250 people or 2 bars and 250 people in a vault. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, there were no holes because it's a vault.
Right.
And so I've got a 36-inch concrete floor and a 24-inch steel concrete ceiling. So if you want to put a light in, you're going to drill a hole through a 26-inch concrete ceiling. You want to put air conditioning in. You want to put beer taps in. You want to put plumbing lines and drains. And it took 1.5 years just to build the infrastructure.
Yeah.
But again, it's a testimony to the design team who actually had the creativity to make it 10 times better than I ever saw it. A contractor who could get the right people in there and had the wherewithal to go, okay, this is the stupidest idea I've ever seen in my life, but we'll do it, we'll pull it off. And an ownership group that said, okay, this could be cool. And it's just incredible. I mean, it's going to be one of those spaces that I think will be unique enough that people are going to want to make sure they come to see it.
Yeah, and it's to that point, if you're traveling to Cleveland, like it's going to be that statement piece that people are going to start coming here to see stuff, right? It's bringing people to the city, even if they are designing something across the country, maybe around the world. Like, you know, by doing this the way you've done it and doing it the right way and preserving it and respecting the building, you know, it brings people from all over the country just to see it. Right, and that's
the
amazing.
hope.
It's a testament to the team you guys put together and the work that's been done.
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, you want your own friends and people in my city to enjoy it, but what I really hoped was that it lets people know. I mean, we've got something you don't have. You could come to this building from New York, Chicago, Miami, LA, it doesn't matter. And you walk in our city and you walk in that building and you're going to be shocked.
Yeah.
And my hope is that at least opens the door for opportunity for all the great business leaders in this city to go, okay, why would you not want to come here? You know, back in the 80s and 90s, we always wondered, why would somebody want to come here? And now you've got this, you're the 6th fastest growing city in the country. You know, people from California are moving here so fast they can't even get enough rental cars. And I want people to walk in and go, why would you not want to live here?
Yeah.
It's an amazing place. And if you think you need to have some special hotel for your friends, we probably got one.
Right. Yeah.
It's as good as anything you've got.
Yeah, no doubt. It's
That sounded a little cocky, but
no, it doesn't. It's but you're right though. That's the thing. Like it's fantastic. And like I said, if you just want to come here for the weekend, if you just want to come here for drinks after work, if you want to come here for dinner, you know, or if you want to live here. I mean, is it 196?
193 apartments.
193 apartments.
146 hotel rooms.
Yeah. And it's, you know, when people walk in, they see the vast ceiling, they see the scope of it. But then when you mention those numbers, they're like, yeah, we don't think about going up. You know, then they might look up, they don't realize the scope of, you know, over 1 million square feet in this building.
She's pretty big.
Finishing up, because I know you got to get to a call here soon. Now that we are, you know, 6.5 years in, obviously, you know, there's still a lot to go. You've got businesses opening and coming in and people moving in, and that's the exciting part. But what do you do now? Like for you, do you just kind of manage stuff? Or you've done 6.5 years of just pushing, like you said. Now it's almost to the finish line. We've got people in. I guess, what are you excited about going forward?
Yeah. Embarrassingly, I don't do much right now.
Yeah.
The team is so good and everybody's moving so well, I really don't do much.
Yeah.
I find stuff to do because I don't want to not do anything. I want to be useful. But I look up and I go, they're better operators. I got great operators. You know, I got any management in here. I've got a Peachy. I've got Corey Hospitality. You got really strong people. So really, I just kind of get to sit back now and enjoy watching the team meld and people come in enjoying it. That's fun for me, seeing my friends and other people walk in the building, especially for the first time. Approachable was the word I threw out early at the team. You don't want this to be a special place that I only come occasionally. you want it to be a place. Oklahoma City's living room is. I said that somewhere and don't remember it, and it got kind of picked up, and people started using it. And you want it to be a regular stop. You just want it to be a place that people are comfortable, that it doesn't feel intimidating. That if I'm in flip flops and a t-shirt, sure, I go to First National. I'm not intimidated by it. Yeah, I'm going to rest a while. I'm enjoying that for the last couple of weeks, getting to watch the team operate, and I don't have to do much. Don't know what's next.
Yeah.
I'm in one of the best cities in the country, and only getting bigger and faster, and great leadership, and I've got friends that are doing incredible things, and I don't know. God gave me this vision, and I'm sure He'll give me the next one, but He hadn't done that yet. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out to share some stories. I know there's a million more, but I want to encourage people to come down here and see it for themselves, because it is fascinating. And once you jump on that elevator, the stairs coming up, the escalator stairs, and kind of just, that is probably one of the best entrances into a space, right? Like, because when you walk in the front door, you're just like, oh, it's just like, cool, this is, and then you go up the escalator and you're like, I have arrived, and you see it. Come have a drink, come spend the night. If you feel inclined to want to live down here, then the girls at the leasing office will definitely have an appointment with you, because they were great to me earlier. We had a good chat, so I want to thank them for their hospitality as well. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure people have told you so many times, thank you for giving it a go, right? Continuing to push, seeing your vision, not giving up. And I think regret is one of the strongest things that we probably battle as we get older, and I don't think you're going to regret not giving this a go. So
You would have always wondered.
Yeah.
But, the city got behind it, people got behind it, and I've got a little table in the corner I kind of hide. Just sometimes I can watch people come up that escalator for that first time, and it's fun. It's fun to get to see people enjoy something new that maybe they haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you for creating, I guess, Oklahoma City's living room, because it's a great place to meet, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of business done there, a lot of friendships made, a lot of drinks, cheersed, a lot of hangovers the next day.
Yeah, we need a lot of that.
Yeah.
We need a lot of support from people coming in, certainly.
Awesome. So for people listening, I'll put the link to the website in the description, and we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.